Hello everybody. Today I want to speak to you about the war for independence of the Donetsk and Luhansk republics in eastern Ukraine and the war for independence of the United States of America. So let's start. Briefly, let's speak about the war for independence in Donetsk and Luhansk. It started on the 6th of April 2014. As you can see on the map, the areas controlled by the DNR and LNR republics is shown in rows. And on the smaller map you can see that it consists of a small part of eastern Ukraine, and this is the area which is currently controlled by the two republics. On the right you can see the two flags of the Donetsk Republic and Lugansk Republic. The main reasons for war or for independence was the eastern Ukraine was always more loyal to Russia than to the West. Second point is the unfair redistribution of wealth. People in the east of Ukraine, which is more industrialized, always claim that the taxes and the money which they sent to Kiev into the budget did not return to them. So while the Western Ukraine was prospering, they were becoming poorer and poorer. Next point is the future effect of the European membership on economic welfare of Eastern Ukraine. Here I'm not going to go into much detail because it's a quite complicated point, but here we're talking about the perception of the effect. Next point is the rise of Ukrainian nationalism in Ukraine after the Maidan revolution. As you can see in the picture, some of these soldiers, which are part of the Azov battalion, which is pro-Ukrainian, they're holding the flag of which consists of a Nazi swastika. You can clearly see it here. Next point is the suppression of the Russian language. When the President Poroshenko came to power in Ukraine, he said that they're going to get rid of Russian as a second language in Ukraine. And as you will see in the next slide, more than from 30 and upwards % of Eastern Ukrainians, they consider Russian as their first language. So the suppression of Russian as an official language did not make them happy. Last point, which is quite small, but still, is a betrayal of the Berkut special police, which were used during the Maidan revolution by the Yanukovych government. When the new president came to power, he disassembled the Berkut special police. Some of them got arrested, and the rest of them were sent home. And a very big portion of the Berkut special police, they come from the East Ukraine. So the betrayal by the by the government did not go well in these two republics. Now, as I said before, you can see on this map that the Eastern Ukraine, more than 30% of the population considers Russian as their native tongue, and in the Donetsk is more than 50%. In the map below, you can see the Ukrainian 2014 election results, and you can see that the east of Ukraine was always more pro-Russian, because they voted for the Viktor Yanukovych, which was considered to be pro-Russian, while the west of Ukraine voted more for Yushchenko, which was considered to be more of a pro-West politician. And you can see the same in this map. It's the election results between Yanukovych, which was, as I said before, was pro-East, and Yury Tymoshenko, who was always pro-West. Now let's talk about the war for independence of the American Revolutionary War of the United States of America, which was fought between 1775 and 1783. Just as a brief introduction, well, here you can see the pre-war boundaries in 1775. Big part of the Northern America belonged to the British, and the big part belonged to the Spanish, while small islands belonged to the French. Now, after the war, well, you can see that the United States were created first here, and afterwards, well, as time went by, they claimed half of North America. Now let's quickly look at the main reasons for war of independence. Well, bad administration by mother country. Here we're talking about the Great Britain. Trade disputes, influence of a 7-year war the Stamp Act, the Declaration Act, custom duties, especially for tea, and these points they led to the start of the war for independence of the United States. During this war, Spain and France were allies of the United States. They helped United States achieve independence, so therefore they fought on the side of the US against Great Britain. Now let's look at the two similarities. The LNR and DNR republics were part of another country, Ukraine. United States were also part of another country, here the Great Britain of the British Empire at the time. The LNR and DNR, they are held by the outside forces, by Russia in our case, while USA was also helped in the war for independence by the Spanish and by the French. Both the Spanish and the French gave the money to buy ammunition and supplies, and they also sent troops. In both cases, in the case of Eastern Ukraine and USA, the mother country, well, Ukraine on one side and the Great Britain on the other side, did not want these territories to go. There was a war. As you can see, basically, it's the next point, that act of separatism led to war. And war, in case of a war for independence, led to the creation of a new country, USA. Now, what I want, basically my biggest point is, what is the difference between 2014 and 1775? In both cases, both territories belonged to another countries. They both wanted independence. In one case, United States, the war was fought, and the United States, they won the war and they became independent. In the case of Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk, they want to be independent. There is a war going on between Ukrainian troops and the troops of the two so-called republics, and yet the United States, NATO, United Nations, Western Europe, they all claim that Russia is not supposed to help them, hence the sanctions against Russia, and everybody's against the separation of these two territories to become independent countries or republics, whatever you want to call you. So in the conclusion, what I want to say is that why is it one country can do what another cannot? United States of America, even though that was almost 150 years ago, became independent, and that led to the creation of the US, the first economy in the world. And other countries now, like Donetsk, Luhansk, they cannot fight for independence. Clearly here we see double standards. My opinion, I think we should let people decide. For a referendum, do they want to remain part of Ukraine in our case, or do they want to become independent, or do they want to join Russia as a republic? I don't know what is the right decision, but I still think that people should have a choice. So, even though this is my first video, the main reason why I created it is to try to show you that you have to think before claiming something. Just like I said in the first point, think about all these double standards that are happening right now in the world.